Shifting focus to Kenya, where weeks of anger against the ruling government is only intensifying further. In the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, protesters erupted once again despite a police ban. In the latest, angry protesters have vowed a total shutdown as they threaten to seize the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi. It is one of the busiest airports in Africa. Police had warned against the march, saying trespassing on protected areas, including the airport, would risk prosecution. Reports say some protesters did mobilize a march to Nairobi's main airport, but were met with heavily armed police force deployed there. Kenyan police had deployed around 3,500 officers across the city to prevent protesters from accessing the airport. Kenyan army soldiers also joined police at the airport. According to reports, at least one person was shot and seriously injured, and 5 were arrested around 15 kilometers from the airport. Meanwhile, protests continued in other parts of Nairobi. At least 5 protesters were arrested during the Tuesday protests. Many shops and offices were shut in Nairobi, and Kenyan police fired tear gas to prevent scuffles between protesters and government supporters. In the coastal city of Mombasa, police fired tear gas at dozens who had gathered in the city centre. Elsewhere in the country, people lit bonfires in the western town of Migori and the central Karatina, as per the local media. Now, as the fresh protests broke out as the lower house of Kenyan Parliament resumed a debate on the controversial finance bill. The bill, which was tabled in May of this year, proposed several tax increases. However, public anger forced President William Ruto to scrap all of the tax hikes. But the protests have now turned into a wider campaign against the government and corruption. Many now want William Ruto to resign. At least 50 people have been killed and more than 400 wounded in the youth-led protests. Ruto has attempted to make key concessions to the protesters. He announced a new cabinet last week, but retained 6 ministers from the previous cabinet, which sparked anger. However, earlier today, he nominated more cabinet members, which include 4 opposition heavyweights. This is an effort for a new broad-based cabinet that he promised in response to the nationwide protests.
I have now forwarded the name of John Mbadi Ngongo to the Ministry of National Treasury and Economic Planning, Salim Mvurya Mgala, Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, Ms. Rebecca Miano, Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife, the Honorable James Opio Wandai, Ministry of Energy and Petroleum.
The protests in Kenya have entered its 6th week, and they have also inspired the youngsters in other African countries. Will these protests be the origin of a mass Gen Z-led movement in Africa?
Climate change is on our doorstep. It's time for a revolution to take root. And it starts with 1.4 billion Indians. It starts with one tree for humanity, one tree for Mother Earth, one tree for our future. Project One Tree, a News 18 network initiative.
Across continents, one powerful news source.
Bringing you diverse perspectives on the issues that matter.
We go beyond the boundaries to give you that little extra about every sporting moment. So thank you for making First Post 5 million strong. We're counting on your support, and you can trust us to bring you the news unfiltered and unvarnished. West Indies